Hi everyone, welcome back to Simplilearn's YouTube channel. Today we are diving into an exciting topic, the top 50 Scrum Master interview questions and answers. First, we'll talk about who a Scrum Master is, their roles and responsibilities, the companies hiring for this role, and the amazing salaries on offer. Then we'll go through the key interview questions with the right answers to help you nail your Scrum Master interview. Ready to take the first step towards becoming a Scrum Master? Let's get started. Imagine this. Your team is building a new mobile app, but things are getting messy. Deadlines are approaching, tasks feel disorganized, and everyone is unsure of what to focus on. That's when a Scrum Master steps in. They act like a team coach, keeping everyone aligned, solving problems, and ensuring the team works together smoothly. With their help, the team can stay focused and deliver the app on time. Their goal is to help the team deliver their best work. Now you must be thinking, what they actually do? Think of the Scrum Master as a team's guide and problem solver. Here's how they help. He organizes meetings. They bring everyone together for a quick daily check-ins, planning sessions, and review to keep things moving smoothly. Removes roadblocks. Got a problem that's slowing the team down? The Scrum Master steps in to fix it so that everyone can focus on their work. Guides the team. They're like a coach helping the team understand and follow Scrum practices to work better together. Protects the team. They make sure the team is not bombarded with too many outside requests or interruptions. Keeps things on track. They monitor progress, help adjust plans if needed, and ensure the team is hitting their goals. Encourages communication. Whether it's between team members or with stakeholders, the Scrum Master makes sure everyone's on the same page. In short, they are there to help the team work smarter, solve issues, and stay focused on delivering the great results on time. Still in doubt to be a Scrum Master or not? Let me tell you, this role puts you at the heart of innovation, guiding teams to deliver the top-notch products while championing collaboration and agility. Companies like Google, Amazon, Accenture, Infosys, and IBM are actively hiring Scrum Masters to lead their agile journeys. In India, Scrum Masters can earn between 10 to 18 lakhs per annum depending on experience and skills, while in the US, salaries ranges from $90,000 to $130,000 annually. With high demand and attractive pay, this field offers a thrilling blend of leadership and problem solving. Now, if you're really interested, Simplilearn Certified Scrum Master CSM certification training helps you advance your career with in-depth Agile and Scrum knowledge. Gain 16 hours of training from globally renowned certified Scrum trainers, hands-on learning through role plays and case studies, and earn 20 PDUs and 16 SEUs. The course includes a CSM exam fee, a free retake, and a 2-year Scrum Alliance membership. Master Scrum principles, boost your skills, and unlock your exciting career opportunities. Do check for the course link in the description bar below and pinned comments. So, without any delay, let's get started with the Scrum Master interview questions along with the answers. So, the first question is, what is Scrum? And here is the answer. Scrum is an agile framework that can help teams work together. Scrum can enable teams to learn from experiences, self-organize while working on problems, to reflect on their victories and failures, to make improvements, and much more. It is basically a starter question to keep the interview going. Now moving on to the second one is differentiate between Agile and Scrum. So they are basically asking you to differentiate between Agile and Scrum. So you need to provide them the differences. And here you go. Agile. Agile is a set of principles that's iterative and incremental in nature, whereas Scrum, it is an implementation of the Agile methodology itself. Agile, it is suited for the projects involving a small team of experts, and Scrum, it is used in teams that need to handle constant changing requirements. Under Agile, again, the project head takes care of all the tasks and is vital to the project. And here in the Scrum, there is no leader basically. The issues are handled by the Scrum Master and the team. Then again under Agile, we have changes cannot be handled frequently. And in Scrum, the teams can react to changes quickly. And in Agile again, lastly we have it requires frequent delivery to the end user. And in the Scrum, sprints provide the workable builds of the final product to the user for feedback. Now, moving on, we have defined the various roles of Scrum. And here is the answer. There are basically 3 roles: the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the Scrum Team. So what do you mean by product owner? The product owner is an individual who is responsible for increasing the ROI by determining the product features, prioritizing these features into a list, what needs to be focused on the upcoming sprint, and much more. These are the constantly reprioritized and refined. Coming to the Scrum Master, this individual helps the team in learning to apply Scrum to ensure the optimum business value. The Scrum Master removes impediments, shields the team from distractions, and it enables them to adopt the agile practices. Then again, coming to Scrum Team, they are the collection of individuals who work together to ensure that the requirements of the stakeholders are delivered. Now moving on, we have what are the artifacts of the Scrum process? So here you go with the answer. So there are basically 3 artifacts: the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the product increment. The product backlog is a list that consists of the new features, changes to features, bug fixes, changes to the infrastructure, and other activities. Coming to the sprint backlog, it is a subset of the product backlog that contains the tasks focused on by the team to satisfy the sprint goal. Coming to product increment, it is a combination of all the product backlog items completed in a sprint and value of the previous sprint's increments. And like this, you can frame your answer. Now moving on, we have how are the product and the sprint backlog different from each other? And here is a list of differences. Now differentiating them is based off definition. The product backlog is a list of items that need to be completed for developing the product. And the sprint backlog, it is again a list of items to be completed during a specific sprint. Now coming to the sources. Then, product backlog is collected from the customer by the product owner himself and assigned to the team. The sprint backlog is collected from the product owner by the team for a specific sprint. Now differentiating them on the basis of scope, goal, time frame, and ownership. Now moving on to the next question is, who is a Scrum Master and what does he or she do? And here is the answer. A Scrum Master is someone who promotes and supports the usage of Scrum within the team. He or she understands the theory, practices, rules, and the values of the Scrum. He or she even ensures that the team follows the values, principles, and the practices of the Scrum. They remove any distractions and impediments that hamper the progress of the report. The Scrum Master ensures that the team delivers value during the sprint. Now moving on to the next question is, what happens in the daily stand-up sessions? And here is the answer. The stand-up sessions are basically the daily discussions that take place and are usually 15 minutes long. So, it helps us understand what tasks went well, what tasks were completed before, and what tasks are pending, and the obstacles the team is facing in delivering the product on time. So, the meeting basically helps in understanding the overall scope and the status of the project. Now, moving on to the next question, we have what is Scrum Ban? And here is the answer. Scrum Ban is basically a hybrid of Scrum and Kanban designed to suit the team's needs. It reduces the work batching and uses a pull-based system for task management. It combines Scrum's structured approach with Kanban's flexibility and visual workflow, offering the best of both the worlds. Now moving on, we have what are Sprint Zero and Spike? And here is the answer. Sprint Zero refers to the small amount of effort put in to create a rough skeleton of the product backlog. So it includes insights towards estimating the release of the products. So the question may arise why it is required. So you can tell it is helping in creating the project skeleton along with the research spikes. It helps in keeping the minimal design, developing some stories completely from scratch, having low velocity and being lightweight. So our second question was, what is Spike? So Spike is a set of activities that involve the extreme programming for research, design, investigation, creating POCs, etc. Now, you can frame your answer like this. And now, moving on to the next question, we have, what is Scrum of Scrums? And here is the answer. It is a terminology used for the scaled agile technologies, which is required to control and collaborate with multiple Scrum teams. It is best used in situations where teams are collaborating on complex assignments. You can also include, it is also used to ensure that the required transparency, collaboration, adaptation, and adoption are established, and to ensure that the products are deployed and delivered on a particular time. Now moving on, the next question is, what is user story mapping? It is now again a very important question, and it's common too. And how you will frame your answer is as follows. User story mapping represents and arranges the user stories that help with understanding the system functionalities, system backlog, planning releases, and providing value to the customers. They arrange basically the user stories based on their priority on the horizontal axis, and on the vertical axis they are represented based on the increasing level of sophistication. Now, moving on, we have what happens in the sprint retrospective. And here is the answer. The sprint retrospective takes place after the sprint review. It is basically a phase. So during this meeting, past mistakes, the potential issues, and new methods to handle them are discussed. This data is incorporated into the planning of a new sprint. Now moving on is, what is empirical process control in Scrum? And here you go. So empiricism refers to the work that's based on facts, experiences, evidences, observations, and experimentation. It is established and followed in Scrum to ensure the project progress, and interpretation is based on facts of observations. It relies on transparency, observation, and adaptation. So the mindset of the team and the shift in thought process and the culture are essential to achieve the agility required by the organization. Now, moving on, we have, what are some drawbacks of using Scrum? You can also put what are the disadvantages of using Scrum? So, we'll move on and see. Scrum requires individuals with experience. Our team needs to be collaborative and committed to the ensuring results on time. Tasks need to be very well defined. It works better for the smaller projects and is difficult to scale to larger, more complex projects. So now, moving on, we have the next question is, what are the key skills of a Scrum Master? So it can also be portrayed as, what are the necessary skills of a Scrum Master? So here you can frame your answer like, the necessary skills of a Scrum Master are, he or she needs a strong understanding of Scrum and Agile concepts. He should have a fine-tuned organizational skills, should have a familiarity with the technology used by the team. Then he or she should be able to coach and teach the team to follow the Scrum practices, having the ability to handle conflicts and resolve them quickly. And the most important one is to be a servant leader. Now moving on to the next question we have, how can discord be dealt with within the Scrum team? And here you go for the answer. So the issue's root cause needs to be identified and addressed. And this is the first and the most important step. Now moving on, we have the complete ownership needs to be established. Try to diffuse the disagreement. Emphasize on focus areas that complement the project. A common understanding needs to be established to guide the team, basically. So performing continuous monitoring and providing the complete visibility is also very necessary. So now moving on, we have the next question is, what is a user story? So again, a very important but a simple question, and here how you can frame your answer. So your user story is an agile software development or a project management tool that provides the teams with simple natural language explanations of one or more project features written from the end user's perspective. So the user story doesn't go into detail but only mentions how certain types of work will bring value to the end user. So they also form the building block of agile frameworks like epics and other initiatives. They even ensure that the team works towards the goals of the organization. The requirements to make a user story a reality are added later after the discussion with the team. So they are recorded on post-it notes, index cards, or the project management software itself. So now moving on to the next question is, how are user stories, epics, and the tasks different? So they are basically asking what is the difference among these three: user stories, epics, and tasks. And here, how you can frame your answer. So user stories. So they provide the team with simple explanations of the business requirements required from the end user's perspective. And about epics, it is a collection of the related user stories. They are usually large and complex. And what about tasks? So tasks are used to break down the user stories further. So they are the smallest unit in Scrum that is used to track work. A person or a team of 2 people usually basically work on a single task. Now moving on, we have the next question is, what is a sprint? And here you go for the answer. So sprint is a terminology used in Scrum, used to describe a time-boxed iteration. So during a sprint, a specific module of the product is created. The duration of a sprint can vary between a week or a 2. Now moving on to the next question is, what is velocity? It is not that speed velocity, it is basically the velocity or terminology used in Scrum. So here you go for the answer. So the velocity is a metric used to measure the amount of work completed by a team during a sprint. It refers to the number of user stories completed in a sprint. And here you basically can see the graph and you have a basic idea of the velocity. Now moving on to the next question is, what are the responsibilities of a product owner? And here you go. The product owner basically defines the vision of the project. It anticipates the needs of the customer and creates appropriate user stories. He or she even evaluates the project progress, and it also acts as a product-related questions. Basically, they can answer them. So you can frame your answer like this. Then moving on, we have what is Burnup and a Burndown chart. This is again can be a difference on the definition of a Burnup and a Burndown chart. So let's see. A Burnup chart is a tool that's used to track the amount of work that's been completed and to represent the total amount of work that needs to be done for a sprint or a project. And a Burndown chart represents how fast working through user stories is. It shows the total effort against the amount of work for each iteration. So now moving on, we have how is estimation done in a Scrum project. So let's see. The estimation of the user stories is done based on their difficulty. So a particular scale is used to access the difficulty of the user stories. Some type of scales are, you can even say this, that you have a numeric sizing that is from 1 to 10. We have even the t-shirt sizes we all see in the malls, that is from S, M, L, XL, XXL and so on. The Fibonacci series 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 and so on. The dog breeds, the Great Dane examples and a lot more. Now moving on. The next question is, what are some of the risks in Scrum? So how are they handled? So let's see the answer. There are some type of risk in Scrum as well. So the first one is a budget. The risk of exceeding budgets. The people, basically the team members need to be appropriate skill and capability. Sprint, this is basically the duration and the deliverables. Exceeding the duration, addition of the scope of work. Then coming to the product related issues, there is a user stories and epics. Having the ill-defined user stories and epics can also be a problem. Then knowledge and capability, having the appropriate resources is very necessary for a Scrum. So managing risk involves identifying, accessing and analyzing the risk and monitoring them and continuously managing them. They are done on a continual basis right from the starting of the project until the completion. So it is very necessary to understand the impact of the risk is based on the proximity of the actual occurrence of the risk. So now moving on to the next question we have, how does a Scrum Master track the sprint process? And here is the answer. So they can track the sprint progress by daily Scrum meetings, the Scrum Retrospectives, sprint planning, escape defects, defect density, the sprint burndown, and team velocity. And then moving on to the next question is how to deal with the score creep. So the score creep refers to the change that's uncontrolled and added without checking its impact on scope, time, cost, etc. To handle it, here's what needs to be done. So you can basically see close monitoring of work done on a day-to-day basis is necessary, understanding and communicating the vision to the team and ensuring they're aligned. Then capturing, reviewing the project requirements regularly to emphasize to the team and customer about the requirements signed off. Then ensuring that any changes introduced go through change control and are implemented based on the approval for the change request. Then avoid gold plating. Then moving on to the next question we have, what are MVP and MMP? Now here is the answer. MVP stands for minimum viable product. It is a lean startup concept that stresses the impact of learning while performing the product development. This allows one to test and understand the idea by getting exposed to the initial version for target customers and users. To accomplish this, one has to collect all the relevant data and learn from the collected data. The thought behind MVP is to produce the product, to provide access to the users, and to observe how the product is used, perceived, and understood. Coming to MMP, it stands for Minimal Marketable Product. It refers to the description of the product, which will have a minimal number of features that addresses the requirement of the users. So now moving on to the next question, what does DOD mean? So here is the answer. DOD stands for Definition of Done. It refers to the collection of the deliverables. You can basically make it out from the definition itself, which includes the written codes, comments on coding, unit test, integration testing, design documents, release notes, and etc. So this adds verifiable and demonstrable values to project development. DOD is very helpful to Scrum while defining the deliverables to achieve the objective of the products. It helps with defining the steps required to deliver the iteration, the usage of the appropriate tools like Burndown to make the process more effective, and so on. Now moving to the next question is, how can a Scrum Master be a servant leader? And again, a very important and a logical question. We will answer the question. The term servant leader mainly focuses on the service orientation which a leader should demonstrate. So the Scrum Master needs to be a facilitator, a guide, a mentor, etc. So this helps the team having increased involvement, empowerment, and etc. The next question we have, how can you coordinate between the multiple teams? And here is how you can frame your answer. So one of the most common approaches for this is the Scrum of Scrums, SOS, meeting where members representing each Scrum team discuss the progress, performance, issues, risk, etc. all together. So the frequency of these meetings must be predefined. Generally, Scrum Masters would represent a particular Scrum team besides having the Chief Scrum Master, who is basically responsible for coordination and collaboration among all the Scrums, who facilitates these meetings. So now moving on to the next question, we have, how would you handle conflict within the team? So here is the answer. So giving individual coaching to the team members is again very important, one of the effective strategies to resolve a problem. So it is imperative for a Scrum Master to maintain the positive relationships with the team members and provide guidance when they face challenges. So for a Scrum Master, paying attention to the source of the problem and listening and acting accordingly would go a long way. Any disagreements should be shared with other team members in a manner that would be open or to suggestions for resolving the issue. So you can even say about the following steps help in handling the conflicts within the team. Step 1 should be scene setting. Step 2 should be gathering information. Step 3 should be brainstorming to find a solution. Then final step would be solution conferring. This is how you can handle the conflict within a team. So now moving on, we have how would you deal with a difficult stakeholder? The 4 strategies by which we can deal with difficult stakeholders are listening to them very carefully. Number 2 is estimating their motivation. Number 3 is meeting them one after the other. And then the last one is watch the stakeholders closely by identifying them. And this can actually give you ideas about the stakeholder. Now moving on to the next question is, what are the 3 pillars of Scrum? Again, a very important thing to understand. The 3 pillars of Scrum are summarized as it is adaptation, transparency, and inspection. So adaptation, the method being processed, must be changed if an inspector determines that one or more aspects of a process are outside of the permitted limits. Coming to transparency, It mandates that those elements be specified by a consistent standard in order for viewers to understand what they are viewing. Then again, coming to inspection, the Scrum users must check Scrum artifacts and progress towards a sprint goal on a regular basis to discover unwanted deviations. Now, moving on, we have the next question as explain the user story structure with an example. So this is basically a very logical question and it is a very common one too. So here is a basic structure of the story. You can see as a role of the user, then I want to achieve a goal or perform a task so that I may achieve some goal or value. For example, the user story of a person's online course purchase can be, as a customer, I want to purchase educational courses online from the edtech website so that I do not have to visit a training center. And here's basically how you can write it. Now moving on, we have the next question as how can you assure that the user stories meet the requirements? And here you go. So a good user narrative includes both a description and acceptance criteria. It should be completed in a sprint with the fewest possible dependencies. The team should be able to develop and test while still delivering estimations with the sprint's context. So in short, good user stories adhere to the invest concept. You can see basically what it means and you can even include this in your explanation. Now moving on to the next question is what are the 5 steps of the risk management? The 5 steps of risk management are risk identification, risk analysis, ranking the risk, and then treating the risk, and then finally risk review. So risk identification, to identify the risk that your company is exposed to in its current operating environment. And what do you mean by risk analysis? So once a risk has been identified, it must be investigated. So this is all about analysis. Then again coming to ranking the risk. So risk must be ranked and prioritized. All risks can't be same, right? So you need to prioritize which risk to treat first. Then comes the process treating the risk. As much as possible, all risks should be avoided or reduced by contacting the experts in the field in question. Then coming to the final stage, that is risk review. To ensure that it has been entirely eradicated, the risk evaluation is done. Now, moving on to the next question we have. What do you mean by the time boxing in Scrum? When can a sprint be cancelled and by whom? So here you go. So time boxing is a practice of devoting a set amount of time to a single activity. A time box is a unit of time measurement. A time box must not exceed 15 minutes in length. So when can a sprint be cancelled and by whom? So a sprint can be cancelled before the sprint time box limit ends. Only a product owner can cancel the sprint. So now moving on, we have what do you understand about the scope creep and how can scope creep be managed? To manage the scope creep, we need to use a change control mechanism to keep it under control. This includes the following. Maintaining a baseline scope and keeping the track of the project's progress. To evaluate the actual work performance metrics to the baseline scope, that is, how different is the current project from the original plan, and we need to perform the variance analysis. Then identifying the severity and the source of the observed alterations. Then selecting whether to take the preventive or the corrective action in response to the request regarding changes. Then finally, to recommend the actions and manage all the change requests by using the perform integrated change control method, whether preventive or corrective. Now moving on, we have the next question as, when should a Scrum Master not act as a facilitator? Then again, a very important and an interesting question. It is like, a workshop facilitator must be objective when it comes to the topics being discussed and should avoid contributing facts or opinions to the conversation. Even through a Scrum Master's job is to assist the team in achieving the best possible results, workshop facilitation can be challenging at times. So now moving on to the next question we have, how do you make the different stakeholders attend daily Scrum meetings? So the coordination of the business people and the developers defines the success of a project. So the Scrum Master should conduct the daily stand-up meetings and encourage all stakeholders to be a part of the call by explaining the impact it will have on the project. The motive of the daily Scrum is to know whether or not they will reach the sprint goal. So the next question comes, what is the structure of a good story? And here you go with the answer. So the structure of a good story is as follows. Who are we building it for and what are the users? Secondly, what are we building and what is the intention of building? So again comes why are we building it and what value does it bring for the user? So well-formed stories will meet the criteria of Bill Wick's INVEST acronym. That is again INVEST, independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small and testable. And now moving on to the next question is, what is the role of a Scrum Master in a Sprint Retrospective? And here you go. The Scrum Master in Sprint Retrospective inspects the progress of the previous improvements. So with the help of team discussion, new improvements are also inspected and adapted. Scrum Master plays the role of a facilitator for the team. Now moving on to the next question. How can Scrum Masters ensure timely delivery of action items? So, the regular Scrum retrospective ensures the timely delivery of action items. An effective retrospective makes sure that the team has identified the action items. Some organizations use a retrospective tracker to monitor the action items. Here are the targeted categories like the priority, ownership, status, description, identified on, and type. So working on the action items gives the team a boost that they are moving towards improvement and enhances the sense of ownership. Now moving on, we have what do you exactly mean by sprint and Scrum? So sprint is at the heart of Scrum. An incremental product is released every week or every month. So after the previous sprint gets completed, a new sprint begins. It breaks down large projects into smaller, more manageable chunks. Daily Scrum sprint planning, sprint review, and everything are a part of sprint. Now, moving on to the next, we have what does the concept of confidence vote mean in Scrum? Why is it vital? So the confidence vote is held at the program increment planning session following the risk analysis. It is when all the team members assemble, voice their opinions, and vote with their fingers on their confidence level in completing the PI targets. A vote of confidence can help create an environment where people feel comfortable sharing and expressing their ideas. So it boosts team morale because members should feel that their opinions are valued. Now moving on to the next question is daily meeting suggested for all teams irrespective of their size or experience level? Explain. So here is the answer. During the daily meeting, a team can evaluate its progress, is sticking to the sprint goal or not. To ensure that everyone is on the same page, all agile teams should meet frequently. So there are various ways they can conduct the meeting: small and experienced, small and inexperienced, large and distributed teams. So you can frame your answer like this. Then moving on to the next question, we have, can Scrum team members participate in the product development process as well? If it is so, then please explain how. And here is the answer. It is very advantageous to involve the Scrum team in the discovery phase stage of the product development lifecycle. The agile teams collaborate with the stakeholders early in the development cycle to ensure that both the parties are on the same page. And you can basically see the points over here and then basically frame your answer like this. Now moving on, in Scrum, what do you mean by user stories and what benefits come from using them? So a user story is an informal, generic description of a software feature written from the end user's perspective. Putting people first is a critical element of an agile software development, and the user story accomplishes this by putting users at the center of the discussion. There are some benefits of using user story. So the primary benefit of user story is the user-centric definition. The syntax of the user story ensures that the user's desired goal, benefit, or the value gets captured. Then again, because the acceptance criteria gets included in the story, the Scrum team will benefit from them. So a user story can change at any time during the project's execution. So now moving on to the second last question we have is, name some other agile frameworks. So there are other frameworks besides Scrum, such as Kanban, test-driven development, and feature-driven development. Mentioned frameworks you have followed and provide the scenarios how you have used it. So now, moving on to the next one is, when we should use Waterfall over Scrum? And is again very important question. So we should use Waterfall if the requirements are very simple, predictable, fully defined and understood, and will not change in the meantime. So you can basically, all the interview questions that are very important, there can be millions of questions on Scrum Master, but I have provided this top 50. And so this is a wrap up. I really hope this video will help you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video for sure. Till then, keep learning with Simplilearn. Thank you for watching.
Staying ahead in your career requires continuous learning and upskilling. Whether you're a student aiming to learn today's top skills or a working professional looking to advance your career, we've got you covered. Explore our impressive catalog of certification programs in cutting-edge domains, including data science, cloud computing, cybersecurity, AI, machine learning, or digital marketing. Designed in collaboration with leading universities and top corporations, and delivered by industry experts, choose any of our programs and set yourself on the path to career success. Click the link in the description to know more.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.